Hello, knowledge seekers. In this episode of 20-Minute Books, we delve into Sex for One, a compelling read penned by the esteemed Betty Dodson. As a pathfinder for pro-sex feminism and as an ardent advocate for masturbation, Dodson eloquently shares her personal erotic journey. This book serves not only as a memoir, but also as a guidebook, offering readers an illuminating step-by-step exploration into the joys of self-love. Author Betty Dodson, armed with a PhD, was more than just a prolific American sex educator. Her talent as an artist and her prowess as a writer paved the way for her to become an esteemed voice on sexuality. Among her accolades were prestigious acknowledgments such as the Public Service Award from the Society for the Scientific Study of Sexuality and the coveted Masters and Johnson Award given by the Society for Sex Therapy and Research. Recognized as a leading sex expert, her insights and contributions placed her among Cosmopolitan magazine's top 10 sexual revolutionaries. Sex for One is a seminal work that speaks to a wide audience. It's an essential read for anyone who practices masturbation, those intrigued by sexual politics and the history of feminism, and individuals desiring to deepen their understanding of pleasure and sex positivity. In these pages, Betty Dodson invites readers to normalize and celebrate their sexuality, advocating for an empowered and enlightened approach to individual pleasure. Join us as we explore the dynamics of intimate self-discovery and how embracing one's sexuality can lead to a liberating experience of self-acceptance and joy. Sex for One, The Joy of Self-Loving. Introduction. Discover the liberating power of self-pleasure with Betty Dodson. In our intimate journey through life, we grapple with the paradoxes of our sexuality. Seeking pleasure yet often shackled by society's taboos, especially when it comes to the solitary dance of masturbation. If we pry open the pages of history, we find a remarkable figure, Betty Dodson, a vanguard of sexual self-discovery who dared to challenge the narrative of shame and silence surrounding self-love. When we consider Dodson's groundbreaking endeavors in the 1970s, a time when the mere mention of female sexuality was often met with blushes or reproach, we realize she wasn't just pioneering sexual education, she was charting a course for self-empowerment. It wasn't until the greater part of adulthood, her mid-30s to be precise, that Dodson began her own exploration of sexual pleasure. The revelation she unearthed would not just transform her own life, but would ripple out to touch the lives of countless others seeking liberation through sexual healing. Dodson emerged as an orgasm coach, a title that might raise eyebrows yet accurately encapsulates her commitment to teaching the art of pleasure, specifically through masturbation. To her, and to those who have had the fortune to learn from her wisdom, masturbation isn't merely a physical act, it's a sacred and sensual journey that mirrors the meditative state. Just as in meditation, where the mind is encouraged to roam free from the shackles of external stress, masturbation enables the body to uncover its own rhythm, awakening sensation and pure gratification in a space unbridled by societal judgment. What emerges from Dodson's teachings isn't just a series of techniques or workshops, it's a transformational, self-loving ritual that anyone can adopt in the privacy of their home. Her approach is one that advocates for personal exploration, believing that the path to understanding one's body and desires is through a gentle, unhurried discovery of self. Her work has created a space where individuals, especially women, can reclaim their independence through the sovereignty of their pleasure. As we navigate the intimate narratives of Betty Dodson's life and her undaunted confrontation with cultural stigmas, we stand to glean the essence of a woman who built her life's work around one core conviction. Pleasure is not only natural, but essential, for one is the most important audience in the theater of self-love. Part 1. Breaking Free from the Shackles of Sexual Myths. Imagine a world where the trail to sexual enlightenment is obscured by a fog of myths and misconceptions, where pleasure is seen not as a birthright, but as a prize granted by another's touch. This was the world Betty Dodson navigated as she stood at the crossroads of her own intimate awakening. Having been weaned on the strict dogma that genuine sexual gratification was the gift of a partner, specifically a male partner. Dodson's journey into self-exploration was nothing short of revolutionary. Back in the conservative landscape of the 1950s, Dodson's early conceptions of sex were colored by the Freudian psychology and marriage manuals of the times, representations that echoed the sentiment that self-pleasure was an immature dalliance, and true adult sexuality found its expression in the context of a romantic relationship. These teachings led Dodson to believe that matrimony would herald a fulfilling sexual life, but instead it brought disillusionment and self-blame when orgasmic bliss eluded her within the marital bed. The message that crystallizes here is that embracing masturbation can be a liberating force against sexual oppression. Following her divorce, Dodson unshackled the chains of her suppressed sexual identity. Through a transformative relationship with a man named Blake, she discovered not only the pleasure of uninhibited sex, but also the crucial role that heartfelt communication plays in intimacy. This was a stark contrast to the silence-filled chambers of her marriage. Dodson's sexual revelations grew in breadth and depth. She began to understand how societal norms inject us with a potent strain of shame when it comes to our own body's explorations. She vowed to reject this sexual guilt and embarked on a more frequent practice of self-pleasure with her partner. Their shared masturbation sessions became a window into each other's deepest desires, fostering a sense of true closeness that their previous marriages had lacked. To Dodson, the act of masturbation was redefined as an inaugural sexual experience, equal in importance to partnered intercourse. Her perspective challenges us to elevate masturbation from the status of a mere stand-in to a celebration of self-knowledge and satisfaction. Acknowledging the power of knowing what stimulates us not only fosters self-assurance, but also dissolves the barriers we encounter in shared erotic experiences. In the light of such understanding, we learn that the exploration of our pleasure is not only an act of rebellion against sexual repression, but a deep dive into the essence of self-cherishment. Part 2. A brushstroke against sexual silence. Betty Dodson, her spirit etched deeply in the canvas of sensuality and liberation, once walked the quiet halls of traditional art, sketching delicate nudes. That was until her own sexual metamorphosis bled into her brushstrokes, transforming the canvas into an audacious declaration of eroticism. In the turbulent year of 1968, she mustered the courage to present her erotic art to a world that might not have been ready for such revelation. Her showcases of passionate lovemaking became the talking point, not just as art, but as a mirror reflecting the hidden desires and sexual histories of those who beheld them. The shared stories of clandestine fantasies and suppressed yearnings opened Dodson's eyes to a universal truth. Society's stringent norms were suffocating the sexual spirit of all. She noticed an intriguing dance of disclosure, where women freely confided their sexual curiosities and fears, while men, shackled by the expectations of masculine expertise, often wore a facade of cool detachment, reluctant to betray their inexperience. This realization unfolded as a key revelation. The unveiling of Dodson's erotic art laid bare the collective suffering from society's negative attitudes toward sex. Emboldened, Dodson doubled down on her artistic expression of sexuality with a new provocative exhibition in 1970, one that dared to highlight the solitary act of masturbation. Upon unveiling her works, she locked horns with the gallery owner, who balked at the display. A hard-won compromise later, only two of her pieces, a man and a woman each in their own private moments of pleasure, were permitted public view. The exhibition split the room and stirred the guests. Many women, ill-acquainted with their own touch or the tools of self-pleasure like vibrators, peered in curiosity and enlightenment at the drawings. In contrast, men seemed to shy away from the portrayal of another man's intimacy while casting mixed glances at the woman's self-induced ecstasy. The muffled voices of discomfort from some men resounded with a tone of hostility, inadvertently betraying a deeper societal discomfort. Through these reactions, Dodson drew a profound connection. Female sexuality stands as a symbol of rebellion against a patriarchal order that longs to compartmentalize desire into roles of the dominant and the chaste. By pushing women into the dichotomy of the Madonna or the whore, society effectively suppresses female sexual agency. Dodson's stance has been clear. Sexual prowess, like any craft, demands practice, and masturbation is the solitary study where women can discover the syllabus of their own bodies. It's through this self-guided journey, this embrace of self-pleasure, that women step into their sexual autonomy, unraveling the tightly wound threads of a patriarchal tapestry, one private moment of joy at a time. Part 3. Elevating intimate knowledge through shared experiences. The woven stories of our sex lives carry weight that far transcends the intimate moments behind closed doors. For Betty Dodson, a misperception of her own body underpinned a deeper narrative, one that untangled only when she met someone willing to help her see the diverse beauty of human anatomy. Blake's simple yet profound act of flipping through magazines and revealing the true spectrum of female genitalia lifted the veil of her self-consciousness. Years later, Dodson's transformative insights led her to capture the varied elegance of female sexual anatomy through a photography series, a celebration of uniqueness that received thunderous applause at the National Organization for Women's Conference on Women's Sexuality. Witnessing the profound impact of such visual truth on other women, Dodson's resolve was emboldened to elevate the sexual consciousness by shattering silence and sharing information. Here lies the key revelation. The act of exchanging intimate stories and wisdom is a potent means to uplift our collective sexual awareness. In pursuit of this goal, Dodson joined forces with like-minded women to form a consciousness-raising group, a sanctuary where they could share experiences and learn from one another. Within the confines of this group, personal sexual narratives were honored and explored, unveiling the potent interrelation of personal empowerment and communal enlightenment. During a time when Dodson herself was exploring her sexuality further through a relationship with a woman named Laura, she eschewed conventional labels, seeking instead to dilute their singularity by adopting them all, thereby diminishing their restrictive power. She called herself a heterosexual, bisexual lesbian, a playfully paradoxical title that epitomized her disdain for societal pigeonholes. Parallelly, Dodson found herself amidst another group of women, professionals grappling with love, power, and the interweave between the two. While they harbored aspirations of economic influence, their progress was stunted by romanticized illusions about sex and a naivety about their own bodies. Recognizing their predicament, love addiction, and a lack of sexual assertiveness, Dodson brought her wealth of experience to their table, teaching them not just to assert their wants and needs, but to bask in the joy of self-pleasure, free from the remnants of guilt. Her mission was clear: to arm these women with tools not only for career success, but for claiming ownership of their sexuality and liberating their intimate expressions. Part 4. The Body Sex Workshops, a revolution in understanding female sexuality. The year is 1973, and amidst the rising tide of feminist consciousness, Betty Dodson discloses a truth that resonates with profound clarity. Sexuality, specifically female sexuality, stands at the epicenter of a dichotomy. It holds the keys to both unbridled liberation and unseen chains of oppression. To delve deeper into this dichotomy and to offer a sanctuary for women to explore the latter, Dodson, alongside her partner in advocacy, Laura, inaugurated the Body Sex Workshops. The workshops quickly garnered renown for their candid and empowering sessions known as the Genital Show and Tell. In these sessions, Dodson would bravely initiate a vulnerable sharing of her own anatomy, dispelling the fears she once harbored and inviting others to do the same. This act of genital display transcended mere exposure. It was an audacious step toward collective healing, and it served as the conduit through which women began to understand and accept the unique beauty of their bodies. This brings us to the essential insight. The body sex workshops were created as a beacon for women to gain a comprehensive understanding of their sexuality and the art of masturbation. As word of the workshop spread like wildfire from coast to coast, Dodson's philosophy remained steadfast. The healing power of these groups must retain its intimate essence, impervious to commercialization or wide-scale publicity. Inside these workshops, what commenced as educational evolved into an ambiance of trust and playful intimacy. Demonstrations of orgasmic expression soon became a live spectacle, where vulnerability mingled with educational voyeurism, empowering women to cheer and learn from their peers' diverse climactic journeys. An unveiled fantasy to form a circle of communal masturbation soon became a treasured tradition within the workshop. Guided by Dodson's voice, participants would each carve their own phallic vegetables, transforming mundane produce into personal vessels of discovery. With these handmade toys, they engaged in synchronized exploration of pelvic motion, breath, and stimulation. Another transformative exercise involved role reversal, where participants would mimic the penetrative act, channeling imagined clitoral power into phantom lovers for a touch longer than the average man's thrusting stamina, as reported by sex researcher Alfred Kinsey. Dodson's observations and coaching during this exercise weren't just instructional. They paved the way for a transcendent understanding and empathy between these women and the lived experiences of men. Through these vivid explorations grounded in the solidarity of shared experiences, Dodson crafted not just a workshop, but a revolutionary safe haven, a place where the complexities of female sexuality could be embraced, celebrated, and understood in all their magnificent variants. Part 5. The ever-evolving journey of sexual discovery. In the tapestry of our existence, orgasm is one of the most intricate threads, a deeply personal experience subject to the whims of our emotional and physical landscapes. Betty Dodson's odyssey into self-pleasure unearthed a revelation. Orgasms are far from a static experience. They are a symphony of sensation, one that mirrors the complexity and individuality of life itself. Dodson's initial encounters with orgasmic bliss were tempered by the shadow of guilt and self-doubt, as well as the corporeal constraints of an unhealthy lifestyle. However, a conscious pivot toward embracing her sexuality, coupled with lifestyle enhancements, unlocked new dimensions of her orgasmic capacity. Her perspective on masturbation evolved into one of a creative act, a space where the imagination could roam unrestrained, fueling the fires of desire. With Blake's influence, Dodson honed her ability to extract eroticism from the well of her fantasies, abandoning the trope of romantic fixation for a richer palette of sensual inspiration. Herein lies an essential insight. Sexual pleasure and the alchemy of orgasm are realms of perennial learning. Decades into the realm of sexual exploration and education, Dodson maintained a sense of wonder and intrigue for the enigmatic nature of sex and orgasms. She knew there was always more to uncover, more pearls of wisdom to string along her thread of understanding. This belief held true when she encountered parallels between transcendental meditation and masturbation, both offering post-practice tranquility. Though her friends met her comparisons with skepticism, a chance to scientifically validate her hypothesis presented itself. Through a research experiment that monitored her brain activity during orgasm, Dodson became the empirical link between sexual climax and meditative states. As she mastered her bodily pleasure, electrical waves danced across Dodson's brain, transitioning from the alpha state to a brief sojourn in theta's tranquil realm, akin to a momentary deep sleep during the crescendo of her orgasm. This scientific excursion into the neurology of pleasure confirmed Dodson's intuition that within the throes of self-love, the mind could indeed mirror the profound peace found in meditation. In this discovery, Dodson offered us a beacon, a testament that our journey through the mysteries of sex is intertwined with the greater journey of life, constantly evolving, ever teaching, and ceaselessly inspiring. Part 6. Creating a culture of openness leads to enriched sexual experiences. As the momentum of the body sex workshops amplified, a murmur emerged from the other side of the gender divide. Men, too, sought liberation. The inquiry into the male experience piqued Dodson's curiosity. Yet, pioneering a workshop dedicated to male sexuality was no small undertaking, and it came with its own unique set of challenges. Initially, the atmosphere within the men's workshops contrasted starkly with the openness of the women's sessions. Conversations skirted personal revelations, abstract discourses proliferated, attempts to tackle the topic of penis size fell flat, and the famed genital show and tell lost its draw, with many claiming they were well acquainted with other men's anatomy through communal spaces. Despite these hurdles, Dodson's resolve held steady. Her belief crystallized into an empowering message. Through empathy and sharing, we can cultivate more erotically satisfying and fulfilling sex lives, inclusive of men. The breakthrough emerged as Dodson uncovered the common undercurrent of fear men shared, the vulnerability inherent in sexual performance. Contrary to her initial assumption that men navigated their sexual journeys with ease, she discovered that their experiences were often fraught with anxiety. This extended beyond the physiology of untimely or unsatisfactory ejaculations. They also battled with the unpredictable whims of erection, the capriciousness of desire when it was needed most. What these men thirsted for was a sanctuary where candid discussions about sex were not just permitted, but welcomed, a counterbalance to societal expectations that pressure them to exude confidence and prowess in all matters of the flesh. Through her work, Dodson curated a triumphant exchange during one of her final men's workshops. This gathering, spanning sexual orientations and on the cusp of the AIDS epidemic, created a nexus where worlds converged and preconceptions dissipated. Men discovered empathy and camaraderie beyond stereotypes, catalyzed by the potent dynamics of shared vulnerabilities. As these men joined in the ritual of group masturbation, the experience transcended physical release. A communal bond formed, exuding love and kinship. For the solitary man who remained climax-free, the session stood as an awakening, a moment kindled by Dodson's own embodiment of self-love that spurred him towards greater self-compassion. Dodson's teachings culminated in a salient affirmation for her attendees, and indeed for us all, that the journey towards becoming exquisite lovers is inseparably linked to the love and acceptance we bestow upon ourselves. Part 7. Embark on a transformative journey of self-pleasure. In the alcoves of our minds and the hidden corners of our souls, insecurities and doubts concerning our bodies and sensual experiences fester, often unspoken and unacknowledged. It is from these shadows that we can step into the light of self-acceptance through an act of radical affection, the practice of a self-loving ritual. Betty Dodson extends an invitation to a ceremonial dance of self-discovery, one that melds mindfulness with the touch of desire and the fire of our deepest fantasies. Whether you embrace the entire ritual or adapt pieces to fit your narrative, the message rings loud and clear. Engaging in an experimental self-loving ritual can pave the way to profound sexual and emotional healing. Commence this intimate rendezvous with a mirror before you, declaring, "I love you just the way you are," and envelop yourself in a warm embrace. Allow the serenity of a hot bath to be the prelude to your exploration, guiding your hands to rediscover the terrain of pleasure on your body while you muse over a sensual memory or imaginary dalliance. Upon the bath's conclusion, set a candle alight and stand in its warm glow, unclothed, basking in your reflection. Shower yourself with accolades, cherishing the facets of your physicality you hold dear. Let your hands dance across your skin, in a massage as gentle and loving as though it were from another. For an intimate appraisal of your genitalia, enlist the aid of a portable mirror. Women, regard your vulva with the same attentiveness as your visage and allow curiosity to guide your touch across the expanse of your pleasure centers. Men, peruse the unique form of your penis, exploring the delicate glands and responsive testicles. Reconnecting with the larger mirror, let inhibitions fall away as you move to the rhythm of your own beauty, a dance of self-eroticism. Preparing for the zenith of your ritual, entice yourself with the allure of textures and hues that speak to your senses. Have your chosen instruments of pleasure at the ready, settling into comfort as you would for a long-awaited tryst. Breathe deep and with a whisper of "I love you," commence the tender symphony of caresses, escalating from the broad canvas of your body to the pulsing life of your sexuality. Resist the urge to rush. You are courting yourself after all. Invest a full half-hour in the art of anticipation before surrendering to the crescendo of orgasm, exulting in the unencumbered expression of ecstasy. Should the tide of arousal beckon you onward, continue your sensual sojourn towards a subsequent climax, delighting in every nuance of joy. This ritual is not merely an act, it's a pilgrimage to the heart of your own vitality and pleasure. Final summary. In a society where the patriarchal lens often distorts the narrative around sexuality, creating a silence that muffles the voices of women's pleasure, Betty Dodson's work emerges as a clarion call for emancipation through education and openness. Her courageous foray into the realm of sexual autonomy proves that when we share our intimate stories and wisdom, we foster a collective rise in sexual consciousness. Dodson's key messages are beacons of empowerment. Sexuality, particularly female sexuality, is inherently linked to broader power dynamics, and self-pleasure is an act of defiance against a system that seeks to confine and control it. The act of reclaiming one's eroticism through masturbation is not just a personal revelation, it is a radical form of self-love that can unfurl into a more fulfilling and shame-free sex life. Dodson's teachings, methodologies, and workshops weave together a narrative of transformation, transforming insecurity into confidence, silence into dialogue, and repression into sexual fulfillment. By cultivating an environment of empathy, shared experience, and open communication, both women and men can navigate the uncharted waters of their desires and emerge with a deeper connection to their bodies and an enriched, erotic existence. The final synthesis of Dodson's philosophy resonates with simplicity and profundity. Knowledge is power. Sharing that knowledge is revolutionary, and self-stimulation is a profound gateway to self-love and sexual satisfaction. Through her life's work, Dodson offers tools to dismantle constraining beliefs and invites individuals to chart a course towards their own sexual reawakening. Thank you for joining me today on this journey of learning and discovery as we explored the insights of another thought-provoking book in our growing library of knowledge. If you've enjoyed our time together, please take a moment to follow our podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and share 20-minute books with other knowledge seekers. Your support truly means a lot. Don't forget to join me again in the next episode, where we will delve into another enriching book. Until then, happy reading and happy listening.